Hi, everyone. Welcome to Confessions of a RnRZelig podcast and on YouTube now, which we're really excited about. I'm your host, Holly Quirk, with my other co-hosts. We have Del Breckenfeld, my dad, here. And then we had so much fun in the last episode with my sister, Shanna, that we invited her back. We invited her back again. So Shanna Breckenfeld. Hi, guys.
Hi. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun last episode. So
it was great, and Children and Family Services didn't contact me for
not
the
yet.
cracker dance party, and
Not
Might
yet.
be a little might be a little too many years ago, Dad. So I think you're safe now.
Statute of limitations ran
Yeah,
out.
statute of limitations is long past. So
That was
you're
the
okay.
80s and 90s, right? That's how we were all raised, I think. Okay, we got a lot to get into today, a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We're going to go more into some of my dad's stories. But really quick, just to get it out there, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel and share. It really helps us out. You can like us on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And again, just share with your friends. And yeah, again, we're getting, a lot of great feedback and we appreciate everyone who's listening. So let's just keep up the momentum. So, okay, last episode, we talked about some of my sister, Shanna, and I, some of our stories about meeting some bands and musicians, and kind of the wacky situations we had found us in, and also just lifelong memories. So I know we kind of we touched on ZZ Top, and I know this week, Dad, you wanted to start out with that, right? Like to talk about the ZZ Top stories?
Yeah, great segue. We touched on it, but we ran out of time. And a little intro to my relationship with ZZ Top, which still goes today, with Billy Gibbons. Just such an innovative band. And back in the day, they were a blues band. And they were always known, from Texas blues, but, like Kenny Wayne Shepherd does now and Stevie Ray Vaughan did. But they weren't commercial. And I remember loving their albums and stuff. When I was at Dean Guitars, they were on tour, and their truck, I guess their equipment truck, rolled over, and they lost their gear. And Billy Gibbons, who's the leader of the band, main songwriter, called Dean Zielinski and Dean Guitars. And Dean called me in his office, and Billy goes, "Hey, we're writing a tour." Back in that day, a lot of groups they mortgaged their home to go on tour because they would make their money from the record sales, and a lot of times touring tickets, a little bit different than it is now.
But now it's kind of opposite, right? Yeah, it's interesting.
So that was what they did back then. And to keep going, they needed guitars. Well, Dean guitars were very expensive. They were about in the $1,500 range in the 80s, a lot of money. And Dean said, "What should we do? We don't really give artists guitars." And we both agreed, and it was really Dean's decision. Let's just give them what they need to finish the tour, or they're halfway. Billy goes, "Thank you so much." And he goes, "I will return the favor tenfold." We didn't know what he meant. Oh, he's going to play the guitars. So one day I'm in Dean's office, and anytime anything weird would happen, Dean would call me in his office, and it was all black. You guys would love it. It was just a black room, black ceiling. Dean had.
I think I remember that, Dad.
Remember you going there?
Yeah.
What's up? But he goes, "I got a box from Billy," and we open it up, and it's fur, and it's just sheepskin. And so Dean calls Billy, and he said, "Hey, it's Dean and Del here from Dean Guitars, and we got fur. We're assuming that you want this glued on a guitar somehow." And Billy goes, "Yeah, and I want it to spin. How? Spinning fur guitars. Okay, it revolutionized MTV.
Wow, yeah. I remember those videos for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Legs. It was the first, but totally changed their sound. They started using drum machines, and it was genius. And all the videos had a car in it. It had the Eliminator car, which was the album Eliminator. And in the video, they throw a keychain, and whoever gets it becomes magical. And I remember Billy sending us some keychains, and it was legal tender. Because if we go in, we'd go like in New York at the Limelight. We were there, and they wouldn't let us in. We had black leather jackets on, whatever. And we said, "Don't you know we work at ZZ Top?" And the guy goes, yeah, I'm sure you do." And we go, key ring to prove it, like the video. And the guy's like, if you give me one of those, I'll let you in.
No way.
Silly.
No way. You got into a club in New York from a keychain that you got from
Easy
ZZ
time.
Top.
If
Oh my
anybody
God.
goes back and sees that video, the keychain is the key. But anyway, how silly. Well, that video dominated MTV Awards, and that video won Best MTV Award. And Billy goes, I don't want to use the fur guitars again. And I actually helped Dean glue the fur on the guitars. I mean, that was, once again, a small company at the time. Remember, we hustled to get it done. He wanted rhinestones. He sent us these rhinestones. And Shanna, this is where you come in. I was supposed to pick you up from school, from Disney Magnet School, on the way home. And Dean goes, we have to get these guitars to New York. They want to use them for the opening song on the MTV. I think it was the first MTV Awards, Video Awards. And he had just glued them on there, and they looked like the fur guitars, except these had rhinestones. Anyway, I grab the guitars. I get you, Shanna. We go flying over to O'Hara Field, and we get there, and the guy's like, I'm so sorry. He goes, you're too late to get it in Carthage. And I go, can I buy a seat on the plane? No. I said, this has to get there, or ZZ Top won't play tonight. Another story, like, oh, yeah, sure. And I didn't have a key ring. Could have given him. This one was serious. But he goes, well, go out the baggage guy. And the guy's loading. I go out there. Shanna, I don't know if you were really young.
No, I don't remember.
And it was sunny out that day. And I go to the guy, go, hey, if these guitars don't get to New York, ZZ Top's not playing tonight. He goes, oh, really? I open the case and the sun hits these rhinestones. The whole face was rhinestones. Throws the case down, and he goes, get out of the way. I got ZZ Top's guitars. God. So we go home, we have dinner. I turn on TV. There's the opening of the show, and there's ZZ Top playing the shiny, spangled guitars. Just a very, very interesting story. Shanna, you were too young to remember, but I'll never forget, like right down to the wire. And I don't think Dean would have fired me, but I think ZZ Top, I think Billy would have never talked to me again,
Oh man, Dad.
Right? Yeah. And I did a lot of stuff with Billy. We'll talk on I have a car show idea coming up on all the car stuff, but we've had Billy's cars and a lot of the stuff that we did, because if you look at the Lakes video and Give Me All Your Love and stuff, really a lot of famous car. In fact, I have the model kit of the Eliminator car. I had that model kit. Became so famous. But anyway, I want to tell that story because it's interesting. And if people go back and look at the video, it was groundbreaking. They dominated MTV with the beards. They didn't have beards like that, with the clothing, with the moving together. And it was eerie choreography when a lot of bands just wanted to perform. ZZ Top knew it was a visual medium. So anyway,
they have to be some of the most recognizable guitars, I would imagine. I feel like maybe that's just us and our family and our upbringing, but I feel like you say fur guitars or something, and people immediately instantly know that it's ZZ Top. So yeah, you did that.
Guitar geeks out there, and I mean that in the best word, because that's one of me. That's what I am. The guitar geeks out there will know that the NAMM show, which is the big, you guys have gone to that show, the big music show. And every year for like 5 years, there was a company called Spinners, and they made the straps because we had to devise it so it was a harness, and because electric guitar for them to play it live, it would plug in through the harness, and then it would the quarter-inch jack that went in the guitar would stay constant, and the guitar could spin on this thing. They followed us every 5 years. Dean had a booth, and there were the Spinners right next to us all day long, spinning the guitar.
Oh man!
Billy actually lent us the fur guitars for one of the NAMM shows. It was pretty special.
Oh man!
He's like, anyway, that's enough on the Billy man, but love the guy, and he's a funny guy though too, because Ted Nugent, when they toured with him, that little band from Texas. And our singer for a while with Gambler, Derek St. Holmes, he was with Nugent. And I remember going to one of the shows, and ZZ Top had farm animals on stage. They had like a buffalo. So Nugent had a fake buffalo that he would parade out, and Nugent had a flaming arrow that he would shoot to kill the buffalo, right? So I'm at the soundboard, and I'm standing there watching it. And all of a sudden, you see the road crews moving this buffalo behind, on the stage, and Ted lights the flaming arrow and pulls it back, and everybody around me hits the ground like Woody in Toy Story. And I turn around and I go, "What are you guys doing?" He goes, "He's the worst shot ever." I hit the arrow goes whizzing over, Anyway, That's
Did he
another.
hit the buffalo or no?
He hit
Did
the
he?
buffalo,
Oh, he
yeah.
hit the buffalo. Oh, good job.
Oh,
Good job,
great.
Ted Nugent.
Awesome.
Oh man, for the ZZ Top, the smell must have been horrendous. I don't know. Like I love animals and farm animals, but man, touring with them, that must have been a stench.
It was a stench. And they had a corral, but their thing was they call it the little old band from Texas, and that was endearing because everybody was doing these huge productions.
Yeah.
And here's ZZ Top with this little stage thing that they did, and three guys that carried the whole show, and some special effects. But the point was that's their moniker, little old band from Texas. Later on they would have the cars and all that other stuff. So anyway, I would suggest people go see that video because it's pretty legendary.
Yeah.
It kicked off the MTV generation. And I know Holly and Shanna, you guys a lot of times tell me that I don't mean to be a downer, but people pass away, and in Chicago, and just since our last podcast, Cliff Johnson from Off Broadway, they opened for us in the Glass Gambler show. He wasn't there; he was ill. And Jimmy Sands, who used to sing with us, just sit and he sang with everybody. He had Gloria. And that song, because them in 1965 had a song that Van Morrison was the singer called Gloria, and it had I knock on her door, I come up to her room, makes me feel all right. Well, it was banned in all the radio stations, believe it or not, for
How
that.
scandalous.
And so in Chicago, I think it was Dunhill Records, a guy named Bill Trout, I think, had the label. Anyway, he got an idea, and the Shadows of Night were like a blues band, really good. And Jimmy Sands they were long, scruffy like the Stones, but we all loved them. They were a great band. And he goes, we're going to re-record those lyrics. We're going to make them clean. And they said, she knock on my door, she call out my name, make me feel all right. And it became a huge hit.
Gloria. Gloria, Gloria. That one.
The Doors did it, Jim Morrison. We did it. Every garage band did it. Anyway, he just passed away, and it was sad. He was a great showman, wonderful guy. He would get up and sing with us if he was in. We'd always do Gloria, of course, which was fun. Everybody played that in the baby boomer generation. And then Cal Drake, who wasn't as well known, but I just saw him 2 times in Palm Springs play. He's a blues guitarist. He was in a band called Illinois Speed Press, and they really got fairly big. And he just passed away. And so it's, the older you get, obviously. But I just want to mention, because they were all part of the Chicago and beyond. I mean, these were national hits. Maybe, so in the same breath, Olivia Newton-John, if that doesn't come out of left field, Olivia Newton-John, not only left field, but I want to tell a story about Olivia Newton-John. And it's a wonderful story. When Bettina, my current wife, Bettina, my wife, when she was in Norway, Greece was really big. And her hair was exactly like Olivia Newton-John, and her sister, Sinova, knew.
Wait, which Olivia Newton-John? The first half of the movie or the last half of the movie? Like the teased up hair, or like the pulled back poodle?
The 80s,
okay. All right.
like 70s hair.
Okay.
And Bettina had a striking resemblance, and everybody in Norway, because she could do the song, thought I'm
see that.
her. And I know somewhere I have some photos, but it's uncanny how much they look alike. So years later, Bettina, with my current partner, business partner, Bob Lundblad.
Hi, Bob.
Doing concert promotion. Hey, Bob. Doing concert promotion. And they did a lot of charity work, and they booked Olivia Newton-John for this charity event for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Really wonderful. And I had neither one of us ever met her, Olivia. She couldn't have met a sweeter, nicer, most beautiful person. And even then, between them looked alike even then. But she did meet and greets, and people could do VIP. Her label sent us all this music. Bettina had an idea. She mentioned the Grease Lightning. And Olivia said, when they were working on putting the show together, Olivia said, I never have met the guy that did that. Well, his name was George Barris, and he did the Batmobile. He did the Monkey Mobile. Legendary guy, George Barris. And he had Barris Custom. He passed away not too long ago. Maybe, I don't know how many years ago. Bettina calls his office, and he brings out the Greased Lightning.
Oh, cool.
And Olivia, first of all, gets to meet him. You should have seen the crowds because everybody, knows, and that was one of her biggest hits. But I was going to say that she was just the sweetest person, and we raised so much money for the local breast cancer charity, Susan G. Komen. So that's my little personal story, not even maybe so much a Zelig but to talk about people who are such good hearted, and she certainly was. She certainly was. And she was great. I mean, people loved her. She was a total pro. And then the last one, and we'll end this part of it, was Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah.
And Taylor, I only met once, and we had this jam session every year, Adrian Smith, and I know, Holly, how much you love Iron Maiden because we've gone to see him, and that was a friend of Bettina's in high school, and I went to Adrian's house originally in London, and I asked Bettina, I said, well, he's a famous rock star. I didn't know it was Iron Maiden. And I said, well, what band does he play with? And she goes, I think it's Nazareth. They had a big song, Love Hurts. And I'm saying, oh, that's a pretty big band. I mean, I don't know if they're still around. I go to his house and it's Adrian Smith, it's Iron Maiden. I go, kind of a lot bigger than, anyway. And at first he was a little standoffish, I don't know why, but, British guys. He asked me, he goes, hey, what's that accent? And I go, well, you have an accent. And he goes, yeah, you have one too. And I go, well, yours I know is British. Mine's Chicago. Open the floodgates. He's the biggest blues fanatic. I mean, as great of a guitar player as he is. So every year I'm very fortunate and blessed to be invited to jam with him. And the greatest musicians play.
I'm very fortunate and blessed to get those Iron Maiden tickets every summer. So thank you so much, Adrian. We appreciate you. And
you got to hang with the Steve Harris guy who started the band. But at the jam sessions, like Richie Kotzen, who's a guy I work with, Adrian and Richie have a great album, Smith Kotzen. Aerosmith. I'm sorry. Right now, Iron Maiden is touring huge festivals and everything else, of course, in the summer. And Richie Kotzen he was with Poison. He was this great artist. But anyway, that would be the jam session. And Taylor Hawkins was the drummer.
Oh, wow.
And I met him and his wife, lovely. I mean, I'm so sad for her and how anybody passed, but he was so young, the most energetic guy I've ever met, and so much fun. And he wanted to know what I did. And I said, well, I told him, I used to work at Fender and stuff. And I told him, he said, well, what did you do recently? I go, well, we do film stuff. And I said, I worked on Bohemian Rhapsody. And he goes, oh, dude, the drums were all wrong in that movie. You could have done much better. He's like,
oh, no.
And I'm like, I didn't really do the drums, I think it was Ludwig or whatever we called. And I go, I'm not going to but the guitars were on. He goes, I don't care about the guitars. He goes, typical drummer, the drummer is wrong. The guy played his heart out. I mean, he was like he was on stage, when you watched him, and I think everyone was devastated. But I want to mention that right now, the two big concerts are coming up. Dave Grohl is hosting the two concerts as a tribute to Taylor Hawkins, and should be, he Alanis Morissette's drummer, he's
right.
known way before, and Alanis knew that Dave just thought Taylor. I read Dave Grohl's book, Storyteller, and that was his best friend.
Yeah.
He seemed like such an amazing person. Obviously, he's an incredible drummer. A couple things. One, fun fact, my metal card just keeps getting more revoked every single episode. Although we did just talk about Iron Maiden, but one of my first shows ever, Dad, I'm sure you got those tickets. I think Mom took me and a friend. Was Alanis Morissette and Oasis, and I was like super into Alanis Morissette at the time, so I was like screaming out. A Jagged Little Pill was my jam, so that just kind of reminded me of that. But also, I wanted to ask you guys if you saw, what was really sad is Studio 666.
No.
Dad? Oh, you got to watch it.
Did I watch? No, I'm thinking of something else. No, I don't think I watched it yet.
Oh, you guys got to watch it. It's a more recent movie. I don't know if it flopped for whatever reason. I don't know why, because it was so well done, especially for like someone who's really into the horror genre and horror movies, and then also heavy metal. There were so many little what are those Easter eggs? There were so many Easter eggs throughout the whole movie from old horror movies, The Exorcist, whatever, to old heavy metal, like Kerry King from Slayer. He's like the roadie in the movie. And it's really good and it's really funny and kind of campy, which I love about it. Also, it's like really gory, like really, really gory. Like the first scene, you're like, okay, all right, here we go. So, well, it was really sad though, because yeah, Taylor had passed probably either right before that or right when it came out. And I mean, the band, they are Dave Grohl and Taylor, like the main characters in the movie. It was such an amazing movie. I think so anyway. Please let us know what you think, guys. Leave a comment and stuff. Let me know if you've seen that movie, because not many people I know have, but you guys really need to see it, because then also watching Taylor in it, and his acting was really good, his drumming was really good. So yeah, Studio 666.
Okay, so to check it out.
Not to be confused with Flight 666.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because Adrian, his beautiful wife Natalie, who you know, Holly as well from the shows, they have to yell at Bruce because he flies their jet, and when he sees a mountain somewhere, and he is a licensed pilot. I mean, he flew for the British Airways. He wants to buzz the mountain because he thinks it looks really cool when they film it. The band's like, hey, I mean, Natalie's told me to hang on. They're like, Bruce, you know.
Yeah, I would die. I would literally die.
Well, I don't think he's a good enough pilot, but it's pretty funny to hear that story. But yeah, I saw Foo Fighters quite a few times, and Taylor's just a monster drummer. And of course, so is Dave Grohl.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
have Dave, he'll play drums sometimes with them, but you figure, well, who could take Dave Grohl's place? Now I think who could take Taylor Hawkins?
right.
Going to
I
be
know. How do they even move forward? That's got to be so hard. I'm sorry, really quick. Another movie with Dave Grohl in it where he actually plays drums is obvious. I'm sure you guys have seen this one, Pick of Destiny, right?
Well, I did the drums for that movie. I did the giant drum kit. So I've worked with Dave, and I remember, I go, Dave, do you know that I'm the guy that did I went to when they did the premiere. I did a lot of stuff in that movie. In fact, when Jack Black flies down when he gets out of the Hall of Fame, I had those cabinets built at Fender, that they were the big cabinets, and they gave me one as a gift, and I gave it to Fender. It's actually still in Fender's offices. When you walk in, you'll see it.
Oh man.
We designed and built those. And I remember I told Dave, I go, and he's once again, the nicest person you could ever meet, genuine, charitable. I've done a lot of stuff with him, not a lot, but charity work. And when ZZ Top, here, I'll bring it with ZZ Top, I wanted Billy to sign a guitar for charity, and it was the Love Ride, which was a big Harley thing that we did every year, and Foo Fighters was supposed to headline. So I go there, and the opening band was the Tubes, which is a fantastic band from the 80s, another video band. And then Foo Fighters went on. And I'm like, well, they're headliners, right? I go backstage to see Billy, and Billy tells me Dave Grohl would not go on after ZZ Top because he said that would be disrespectful. The Foo Fighters are not ZZ. Imagine, think about that in today's world. And then they had a jam at the end, and Duff McKagan was there, and Duff was like, hey, can I borrow that guitar to play? So not only did I get him to sign it, to get Billy Gibbons to sign it, but I got Duff McKagan and I got Dave Grohl, which was
very cool.
So cool.
Story about Dave. I forgot about that one.
Was that guitar auction for charity that day? Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Guitar auctions, obviously. I mean, I can tell stories in the future. We have so many of them, but the guitars really still bring a tremendous amount of money. I've got almost up to 100,000 for signed guitars from the major artist.
Wow.
So, but anyway, that's it. The reason I want to talk about, you said rest in peace to these people. Their memories go on, and I think the thing, Taylor Hawkins, way too young. But when somebody like that passes, you just mentioned the movie. You have a history of these people that you can see, and that's a legacy. It's like a record. It goes forever. And I think that's the one side of it. Not everyone has it among their family, but we can look back on that. And when somebody passes, everybody wants to see that stuff. It's good that you mentioned those kind of movies, because I want to see it now. Shanna, you want to see it, right?
Yeah.
And Taylor Hawkins' character, I mean, in Dave Grohl's book, it was his best friend. Mm-hmm. If you see imagine Dave lost, although he wasn't with Kurt that long, but in his book Storyteller, they go on a road trip to find Dimebag Darrell. And I'll save the Dimebag Darrell stories for another later.
Yeah.
That was it's the funniest story I've ever heard. I mean, Dave Grohl, just the greatest storyteller. So
we gotta do just a Dimebag episode, I think. Probably.
Yeah, we could donate a whole time.
Speaking of RIP.
Yeah. And so we want to have a segment that we talked about. I know I have a lot of stories this time, and I apologize, but I write them down, and I guess I got to do them. We don't have to. But I want to do this thing, the heroes and villains.
Yeah.
And each week, I want to have a segment because, as I just told you, I mentioned Dave Grohl being charitable, or Billy Gibbons too. Billy came out and worked with the kids in our music program out in that Fender had that Bettina and I and John Page started, and he came out and taught the kids. Joe Walsh came out and played I mean, there's so many wonderful people, and they don't want any money. They don't. They just do it because it's in their heart. Richie Sambora, we talked about him, and charitable work. So the heroes and villains, the theme of it is the heroes are people that I either looked up to, were influenced with, or were fascinated with, or we all are. And when you get to meet them, what they turn out to be, and that's the hero when you find out that they're, oh my God, they're just like us, except they're like super talented. And so to me, a hero, and not just because they did charity work, but because their passion and what they are and how they treat people, and no one's ever going to be perfect. And villains are not really villains, but villains would be the ones that turn out to be not quite, but they have redeeming. I'm never going to slam anyone. It's not my place to do that, but I can tell some stories about ones that turned out to be when, maybe I didn't look up to them as much. Maybe I did. They turned out to be not exactly, what I thought, but they did have redeeming quality. So I will never do it where I'm just going to knock.
Dad's going to spill the tea, everyone.
Yeah,
Get it
piping
ready.
hot.
Oh, you like it.
The tea
I
is
thought that
piping.
was an interesting subject because I guess everybody can be a hero or villain, and some are both.
Dad, do you know that? Does Dad even know that saying, like the tea spilling the tea?
No. Should we
What
take
is
it?
So when you like have gossip, it's called the tea. So spilling the tea is giving us gossip. That's what it means.
Ooh.
You know what I gotta say? I learned I am not hip at all. I am not. I don't.
I am.
Yeah, you are for sure. I am not. But you know what keeps me young and hip is our Freya, but also even before that, before I had Freya, was working with kids at School of Rock and working with teens. Like they would always help fill me in on like what the new lingo was. And then of course I would just follow them around and totally annoy them all the time. Like, hey guys, what's the tea? You want to smoke some tea? And they're like, oh God, Holly, you are so embarrassing and cringe. So that's why I love working with kids and teenagers because they keep us young and they give me all the hip slang. So yeah, Dad, spilling the tea or like give us the tea is like let us know some gossip. Spill the tea.
I'm going to be really hip in my next Zoom meeting, corporate Zoom meeting. I'm going to be like, hey, come on, spill me
the tea.
Oh, Dad. Oh, wow.
Got it. Right.
I don't know if you do.
Oh my God, I don't get that. Like you're not like in corporate meetings now. You can't go. We're looking for synergy. We're looking. You can't say those things anymore, of course. So maybe I can find. I can use this one. Speaking of that, Shanna, why don't you spin the big wheel for the heroes or villains? We'll fall on Wheel of Fortune.
Some music? No. A drum roll? No, that's not it.
So what did it come up with?
We'll figure it out. Which one are we doing today, Shan? Heroes or villains?
Villains. Always more fun.
Oh my God, it was supposed to be heroes.
Oh, heroes.
Okay, so we're gonna do a short villain then today.
Good job,
when I got the Fender, and the reason I bring up Fender because all these other companies, Dean Washburn and stuff, and now my own company, but Fender had a Rolodex. It's like,
oh boy,
Rolodex. And my boss, the first day I come in the office.
Dad, what's a Rolodex for the kids out there? Although if they're listening to the podcast.
I'm going to spill the tea on the Rolodex.
Yeah,
yes.
Dad got it right.
It's so old school for anybody listening. It's flip cards on a
like
thing that have people's name and numbers on it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if I talked about the very first one I had was. Did I ever talk about my boss called me my first day? I'm sitting in the office. Nobody's giving me instructions. Alex Perez, still there at Fender, was great, helped me. But I'm sitting in the office and I'm wondering, okay, what am I going to do? First, the phone rings. It's my boss who hired me. And he goes, I want you to go through that Rolodex. You see that Rolodex in front of you? He was a great guy, by the way, but he was tough, I want you to go in there and I want you to call those people and tell them you're the new guy. So Dick Dale was the first one I called. I think I told that story.
Under
But
the D, Dick Dale. Mhm.
yeah, but Richie Blackmore was in there. So if you go to, there's some pretty funny stuff on the web about like a actor doing a guy at Guitar Center, and he says,
Oh,
"Hey, did you ever see that one? It's so great, you know." And he sits down, and the guy comes in the store, and you hear him playing "Smoke on the Water,"
Oh, yeah. I
no.
think I sent that to you, Hall.
and he goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you sent it to me."
Oh,
Oh,
I
it's
sent it
so
to you
funny.
guys.
I was ready to go. Oh, cool, man. Oh, that's such a cool song, dude. You know, the next day it's like, hey, can you, turn it down? You know, because every day that's what everybody plays.
Same thing. Yeah.
Ender used to have a roadhouse. You guys remember this? We
Oh,
would do
yeah.
a Summerfest, and you guys would come, and we would all volunteer to meet people. And it was a big Fender amp that U-Haul that opened up, and there were guitars. Every guy that went, I shouldn't say guy because there were a lot of women too, but anyone that pressed their kids like, Dad or Mom, did you play a little guitar? Yeah, well, I'll play something. Oh, okay, and it's Smoke on the Water. I think
Nothing has changed.
before I get to the Richie Blackmore, I did a lot of episodes of Two and a Half Men, and I worked with Angus, and there's some pretty cool stories there, I think, and Charlie Sheen. But they would always make fun of Smoke on the Water, and Angus was a guitar player. And there was one episode they wanted a different guitar, and I remember going down to the set, and they were, it was really loose to just hang out. And Angus got the new guitar, and it was the next door neighbor was a cello player, and they were going to play Smoke on the Water, of course, and the cello and the guitar. So they get ready to start, and the cello player kind of looked like Yo-Yo Ma. I think it was an inside joke. He kind of looked like a young version. And he starts out, he plays this big classical piece, and he's throwing all this stuff in, and he stops, and he starts Smoke on the Water. And Angus goes, hold on, hold on, hold on. He goes, what was that? And he goes, well, I was improvising. And he goes, the name of the song is Smoke on the Water, not Crap on the Water.
Oh,
Bird, sick bird.
oh man.
So I see Angus T. Jones was a young kid for anyone that doesn't watch the show, but I look up and there's, oh, Richie Blackmore. I got to call him. Right. And I thought, I had a little power there. Maybe I can offer him. He doesn't have a signature model. A signature model was always the one where you got your name on the guitar. Like Clapton was the big one, and, Bonnie Raitt, and many through the years. Steve Ray Vaughan, of
Steve
course.
Ray Vaughan, yeah.
Yeah, and they could, Clapton, living artist. George Harrison has the Rocky one. My good friend Michael Schultz over there did that one. He, with the Harrison estate, and that's beautiful. That's the hand painted one that George did for Magical Mystery Tour, and using makeup and stuff like that. He did beautiful psychedelic. So they released that, and but anyway, those are signature models, or what they call tribute models, if the artist has passed. So I thought, well, wow, Richie Blackmore, that song is famous, and he played that white Strat like Hendrix, right? And a great guitar player. And so I have his number, and I call him, and his mother-in-law answers the phone. It was like his girlfriend at the time was in his band, and he gets on, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever heard, because he goes, yes, how can I help you? And I said, oh, well, Richie, like, I'm the guy at Fender, or, I didn't even want to call him Richie, but Mr. Blackmore, he didn't say, call me Richie, Mr. Blackmore. I'm the new guy at Fender, and I've been thinking, did you ever, talk about doing a signature model with Fender? I think that would be perfect. You get a famous riff on the Fender, 70s Strat, and I know how we can do it. And he goes, he doesn't say anything. And I thought, oh, and he takes his deep breath, and he goes, it's about time you bloody wankers called me. He goes, I've been waiting 30 years for this call. And he's like, on the phone. And I'm like, Rich, at that point, Richie, calm down, please. And anyway, and he was all, I didn't see him, but I know he looked like the villain at that point. He wears a cape, and everything. But we smoothed that over.
Okay.
And then he agreed to do it, which was very cool. So that's kind of a redeeming thing.
So he got his signature guitar?
Yes, but there
Okay.
was a little bit of a road. There was a speed bump in the road.
Oh no.
That one, his lawyer calls me, and it was like, and I don't think Richie put him up to it. I don't even remember who. It doesn't matter who the lawyer was. And he goes, "Here's what we're gonna do. He goes, we're going to do it, but we're not going to, we want more money than anyone gets. And I said, well, that would be fine, but we don't do that. We're like a favored nations, because then everybody you'd say, well, who's better than that, you know? And he goes, well, then we don't care, but I want to get Richie more money than Eric Clapton makes. I'm like, and the money is not a big deal. Clapton donates it to charity, you know, to Crossroads. Bonnie donates it to her, you know, her charities. They're wonderful, and the money, it's just the honor of having that model.
Yeah.
I go, I can't do that. And he goes, why? And I go, legally, because that's our agreement. And if we raise yours, then everybody's is raised. And it's just, it's not about the money. No one knows what we pay. I won't even say it now, what we pay. It might have changed, but it was fair, you know? I said, it's about the honor and the tribute of doing this guitar for him. And his, you know, we're going to do an exact replica, and it will be there, and people will buy it, and collectors, and he can get them, and whatever it is. I'll give him some of his guitars too. You know, he can donate them to charity. And he goes, so you're telling me that we can't do that? And I go, I just told you legally I can't. He goes, okay, how about this? You give me more than Clapton, and we won't tell anyone. Like, first, I won't have a job tomorrow.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
doesn't work like that.
and I said, are you honestly? And then he kind of started laughing.
Oh my God.
He gave it a shot, you know.
Never know until you try.
No. And then Richie was pretty cool, because the only thing that happened was I had a rock walk induction with my good friend Dave Weiderman, who I don't know if you guys ever met, but Dave was my counterpart at Guitar Center. But he started the rock walk.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, Dad, you took me to Guitar Center in LA, and I remember being there for quite some time. So
yeah,
met him while you had a meeting in the offices there.
Yeah, and he had, what's cool in Dave's office, he had the Sunset Grill sign, was next door, and that was the Don Henley song, Down at the Sunset Grill. And when they put that down, Dave got it in his office, and he's retired now, but dear friend. And Dave would be like, okay, let's do something for the 50th anniversary of Fender. So we had Bonnie Raitt, we had Buddy Guy, we had Jimmy Vaughn on behalf of Stevie Ray Vaughan, we had Dick Dale, and Richie Blackmore. And those were all the artists I was working with at the time, so I was pretty impressed. Richie missed his flight.
Oh, no.
We don't know why, you know, and I even flew a limousine to get him. But anyway, but that wasn't his fault. So I don't want to make it, once again, redeeming. He was gonna come.
He was gonna be there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a fun first one for our heroes and villains segment. We're starting out with villains.
Next time, someone.
We will make sure to do hero. Dad, it's random. It's a spinny thing.
It's a random.
Yeah, you can't. You don't know where to do.
That's fine.
I feel like I have to admit something, and I'm going to do it in a more public forum, so you can't freak out.
Oh, scared.
So, you know your Rolodex? You had like a little, I don't mean to call it this because I know it has a different meaning, but like a little black book of contacts that you had all your contacts in, and you would leave it in your office at home a lot. And for funsies, sometimes with my friends.
Oh no! Come on, boo! Boo! Whatever this is.
We know it's not going to be good, Shanna. We already know.
It's not. I already know. I'm white knuckling it over here. This is Holly. We know her. We know her and love her. We know.
Oh, this is continuing with the villains.
Yeah, you're the villain. You are the villain in this story.
We would go through sometimes and just call some of the numbers on there because you had them all listed out. You literally had Sting. You had Sting's home number in your book. And so we would like go to the ones that we would know, but we wouldn't say anything. We would just call, see who picked up and hung up.
Oh, was your refrigerator running or something?
Right.
I wouldn't completely prank call them, but we would call just to see. And with Sting, it was definitely like a British person that picked up the phone, and we're like, and we like freaked out and hung up. So I would do that sometimes. I'm admitting it. I'm getting it out there in the open, but I never like. Thank God. Was that before caller ID? I sure hope so, Dad. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? Yes, I do. We'll let him out. You know. At least
yeah. Just think about
Holly, of
Fran,
all
her friends went
and
through
although
your contacts on your phone and
I
started
know,
calling
but
like
Dad, I know.
families from the school.
Well, but Dad had all these literally every sheet would look at it was like Dolly Parton, Bonnie Raitt, like everyone's phone number and cell number maybe or whatever. So we would just call, but we wouldn't do anything. But hopefully, I was very surprised that you didn't come home at some point. And you're like, well, I was on the phone with Sting's people today, and they asked me why I've called like 3 times and hung up.
And we checked, it was your number that was telling me, no, because now you couldn't do it because it would
Right? Yeah.
show
The
up.
caller
It'd be
ID.
like, yeah, why are you calling us and hanging up? You know what I mean?
So anyone out there that has those little black books, be careful of your bored teenagers.
Yeah.
Lock them up. Lock them up. That's
I
all.
don't
That's all the
I don't think
advice.
there's too many of those laying around anymore, I did call Clapton's house once to make sure that he got this guitar, and I usually would talk to
Like
someone.
an assistant. Yeah.
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 You wouldn't talk to Eric, and his wife was George Harrison's ex, and she picked up, and she was very, 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 very sweet, and she was, oh, Eric's not here right now. It's like, okay. Can you take a message? Oh, certainly.
Oh, so nice. All right. Well, that was my little thing that I had
No, that was
had
cute.
to get off my chest.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I think we should pick up next time and keep doing more villains and heroes. Unless Dad, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about today?
Has anyone seen the Elvis movie?
Shannon and I just went and saw it. It was almost 3 hours long. Let me just lay that down. But we did go and see it. We just went the other night.
But it makes it like I really liked it because maybe it wasn't Bohemian Rhapsody, but first of all, the actor was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was really good. Austin Butler.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks, we're almost like a cartoon character, but
oh man,
it was a little much. I was hoping that it was, for people who haven't seen it yet, we have no spoilers, but it's narrated by Colonel Tom Parker, Tom Hanks, right? I wish it was narrated by Elvis, more of Elvis's story. I didn't really care about this buffoon that maybe, yes, he helped with Elvis's career a lot, but he also was detrimental in a lot of ways as well. Like, why are we giving him so much screen time? It was
definitely his story for sure.
Yeah, it was his story more than Elvis's story, and I really wish that it was more Elvis's story.
Yeah.
But I remember your mom and I waiting for the comeback special because Elvis. I mean, we liked his music, but he just wasn't cool anymore. It was the Beatles. Yeah. It was '68. Bands were kind of revolutionary. It was after the Summer of Love and the next year. And I just remember we tuned in not expecting much and we were blown away. That was amazing. And that really captured, and actually that story where he, in the comeback, they call it the comeback special, where he moves his finger where they wouldn't let him move except for his little finger. He tells that story on live on TV or whatever.
Oh, really?
So that was fascinating. In the movie, there's, when Colonel Tom, when he tries to fire him, I think the first time, second time, and where Colonel Tom's going to tell him he's broke. He tells Vernon, there's a guy standing there waiting for Elvis. That's Jerry Schilling, and I got to meet him and talk to him with Priscilla Presley. I don't know if you guys ever knew that. I ever told that story. She was so sweet. Her son, not from Elvis, but he looked like Elvis for some reason, had a band. And this is with my company, Ep.5. Bob and I did a promotion. It was very successful. He's really, really good singer and great front man. He almost had like a Jim Morrison thing, kind of dark. And Priscilla took us out to dinner with them before the show. It was just a club. And Jerry Schilling was there. And, you try not to ask a lot of stories about Elvis because it's not appropriate, I want to know about Elvis. But, some of the stories did come up, and Jerry Schilling was there. He was his confidant, and he manages the Beach Boys now. I mean, he's still around. He's still
wow.
But that's why those stories, I believe, and I talked to my friend Elliot Kendall, who you guys know, and I think he got Jerry the job working for the Beach Boys or managing the Beach Boys. But that's his firsthand account. He's a contributor to that movie. So very, very fascinating. And by the way, Priscilla was absolutely drop dead gorgeous, just too sweet, just so nice. When you're sitting there where you think of these people aren't real, stuff like that, because you're so used to seeing them on TV or in movies or whatever. And once again, it was quite an evening. It was quite an evening. And so anyway, I just thought I'd say that about your showing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I really like the movie. I didn't know what to, I didn't really, I don't know. I tend to not look movies up before I go see them because I just, whatever, just want to see however it turns out. So I didn't even really know the style of how it was going to be. I just knew it was about Elvis. And I thought it was really good. There were some things like I didn't know how I felt about like the hardcore mumble rap in it. That felt very out of place for me. I don't know if they're a music supervisor. I'm not quite sure what was going on there. So it kind of took you out of the time when you should be put in it. It wasn't like Walk the Line, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really, really good. And I was crying at the end. Yeah, sorry, spoilers, I guess. But it was really sad that
I think everybody knows that Elvis passed away.
It didn't end well for
Yeah, but
it did not end well for the king.
You can't, Elvis is a caricature. He became, and
Yeah.
particularly the big Elvis, which was still talented. I never saw Elvis live. I knew James Burton very well. We should save a story for James Burton because I got some amazing James Burton stories, who was the guitar player. And the guy in the movie looked just like him. And he was Elvis's band leader in Vegas with the Paisley, famous Paisley guitar. And I have all those stories because I could ask James about that, those stories and how he got with Elvis. But I like the fact that they made him a real person, that they had, like Freddie Mercury, so flamboyant. But when you see him, his challenges, besides the HIV, I mean, certainly before that, the thing that right when that movie came out, I saw it, and our really close friends, their mom was turning 80, and this just wonderful and very vibrant, very charitable in our community here on Vancouver Island. And they hired an Elvis impersonator, and he couldn't show up. So guess who got the call? Your dad.
What?
But I'm not going to impersonate Elvis. I can't. I can learn the songs. It was fun. I learned the songs. I can do Wise Men Say, I could do the voice.
Okay.
But I'd seen Elvis in 1957. So I knew the songs in that era, the early stuff.
Yeah.
So I learned the songs and at the party, and I had everybody sing along. It was really, really a fun party. I thought, I got to do something. I'm not going to wear the costume. I'm not going to impersonate him. I thank very much. That I didn't want to do that. But after seeing the movie, I'm like, okay, I can get away with this without impersonating him. But I did order the glasses.
No.
Taking care of business glasses, and
You got pictures of that, Dad? Maybe we'll
no, I do not.
Yeah, come on.
Actually,
I know you do. You have to have them somewhere, Dad.
I gave her husband the glasses.
Oh, that was sweet.
I actually did Blue Suede Shoes, and they got up and danced. He's 81 and she's 80, and it was
that's cute.
But anyway, but the glasses, that's it. That's Elvis,
Yep.
And I couldn't get the ones that came with the sideburns.
Shucks. Yeah.
Amazon's got everything. They didn't have that. But anyway,
I wanted to see that movie for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm so thankful. I did not know it was almost 3 hours before, because otherwise I'm not sure if I would have went. But no, it was really good.
A little long.
Yeah.
I would add on my movies, not that I worked on, but movies that really were pretty amazing, and weren't seen by as many people. So Walk the Line, yes. And I've talked about it before. If anyone's in Nashville, they can go to the Johnny Cash Museum. And I have a display with my partner and with Bettina on a set from Walk the Line, on the instruments that were actually used in it, and recreating Elvis's amp. And I was working on that Elvis movie, as I talked in an earlier story about Tom Hanks and That Thing You Do. I was working on that movie. They were filming in Australia, and that's when Tom and his wife Rita got COVID. And then when it came back, it was during COVID, and I had nothing to do with the movie, and it was very authentic. I thought they did a great job, but I had the Elvis amp, and that's in the on display right now in the Johnny Cash Museum in Nashville, which is a credible museum. And
the Elvis amp is at the Johnny Cash Museum.
It's called the Johnny Cash Museum, and also it also has a Patsy Cline Museum too.
Oh, okay.
But it's a guy named Bill Miller that started the Fender Museum. He worked with us. And all Johnny's stuff was at his house. He knew Johnny, and his dad knew him. For some ways, his dad was a DJ, and he told Johnny, he was a pretty young guy, 19 or 20, and he said, "Hey, Johnny, you should have a website." And Johnny's like, "Oh yeah, I heard of those things. I don't know, I don't understand it." And he goes, "What if I get you a domain name, johnnycash.com, right?" So they get the domain name. He sets it up. and Johnny's on a radio station interview, and Bill Miller's listening to it, and they go, Johnny, I heard you have this like website. Can we go there? What is it? And he goes, yeah, it's Johnny Cash, of course, my name. There's like a period and something like COME or something like that. And so Bill Miller goes, okay, I will take care of your website. So they became dear friends. Johnny gave him all his stuff.
Wow.
So I got to go to Bill Miller's house to get that and his clothing. And my assistant at the time wouldn't even touch his clothes. But it was pretty amazing. And Mark Kendrick,
Oh yeah.
and Mark, still there at Fender, had a lot to do with putting the display on. Well, that ended up becoming the Johnny Cash Museum. When he left Corona, the new owners shut down the Fender Museum, and he took the artifacts to Nashville and opened that museum. So it's a great story if anybody goes there. But that movie, Walk the Line, they have the piano from Hurt video.
Oh, so
if you ever
that makes me weep instantly. Yeah.
Right. Everybody does. You stand there and you watch it. I mean, amazing. But Get On Up, which was the James Brown movie with Chadwick Boseman playing James Brown, pretty amazing.
R.I.P.
And then Love and Mercy, which was another kind of different movie, kind of like the Elvis movie, but really, really well done. Two Elvises. Elvis. I'm sorry, two Brians, and the young Brian with the early Beach Boys. That's Love and Mercy, and then the later Brian. And as I worked on the film, I was very intensely involved in the sets with some other people, and that movie was really, really well done, but not a popular movie, So not like Walk the Line and the Elvis movies is pretty popular. Well, what those movies do is you get another look at the artist, and then you become interested in their music.
Right.
And that's a great thing. Like Johnny Cash sold more records after Walk the Line.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So anyway, we can end on that.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Fun episode. Touched on a lot of different things and a lot of rest in peace out there again. So Shanna actually, I don't know if she'll be on the next one, maybe because she's going to Europe soon. So we're very excited for her. And we will miss you while you're gone, but we'll figure out a time to do the next episode very soon. And then we'll keep going with that heroes and villains thing. Next time we'll get to a hero. We'll
we can't program it.
We'll rig the wheel. I'll rig it. No.
You have to maybe put your finger on it, like, you know what I mean? No, that was good, a villain, because that explains that it's not really the villains. I don't. Once again, I'm not.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it light. I'm not.
No, we're not here to bash anyone.
Yeah, sure. But no, it's great. It's so much fun having both of you. Last week, I listened to that again after we did it, even though I was laughing during it, and it was pretty funny. If people haven't heard, that was number 4.
Right.
And this one, they should go back and listen to that, because the cracker story and the Queen Shanna and all that stuff. And
that was fun. Yeah, no, I love doing this with you guys. Thank you again so much to everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. Stay rocking out there. And then please just sorry one more time, just please give us a like and share with your friends and everything. We really appreciate it. But we're having a lot of fun doing these episodes. So thanks, Dad. Thanks, Shanna. Love you guys. Throwing the tea. There it is. Dad learned something new today.
Okay, bye now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.